from nature. Parable? What is it? Well, it's a little story with a lot of truth in it. An earthly story with a heavenly meaning. Jesus told many parables to grown-ups and children alike. He told them simply and sincerely in words everyone could understand, so that all might learn the lesson he was trying to teach. The fairy ring. Fairy tales are make-believe, and this is a make-believe story about Magic Land where the fairies live. Watch and see how Puck, one of the fairies, is so anxious to get rid of the bad things in life that he is apt to hurt the good ones too. He's just like the servants in Jesus' parable. But let's see what happens. Far away in the forest live the people of Magic Land. They are fairy folk who live with their queen, Titania. There on the left you can see young Puck, who is one of her subjects, loyal and adventurous. Like many little boys, Puck loves to eat whatever is around. In the fall, he finds some tasty nuts and juicy berries in the spring. Most of the time, he feasts on the delicious mushrooms that grow in the forest of Magic Land. One day as he wandered along under these plants that stood over him like giant umbrellas, he suddenly was very hungry. He saw a lovely-looking red mushroom. Oh, it was so beautiful. How wonderful it would taste. One bite. Oh, that's all he ever took. And then how sick he felt. He fell down with a moan and a groan. And turned as green as the grass beneath him. He thought he would surely die. He tried to call for help. But his voice was so small and so weak that no one heard him at all. Luckily for Puck, who should be passing by just then but Queen Titania. When she saw him lying there, she flew down to an old tree stump and waved her wand over him. Her magic wand made Puck well at once. Puck said,
"Oh, Titania, if you hadn't come, I surely would be dead. Well, these mushrooms aren't all as good as they look. The one I just ate was terrible. It's time we passed a law to get rid of these deadly things. Why, someone else may come along and be fooled by their beauty and then be poisoned like I was. Your Majesty, I demand that you call a meeting at the fairy ring."
And so Titania called the fairies, who quickly came from far and near. They always met in the fairy ring, circle of mushroom chairs, which was at the very center of Magic Land. Titania told the fairies about Puck's adventure, and then let him speak to them.
May I have your attention, please? I think we should cut down all the mushrooms because they're a danger to our land and we must be rid of them. Take out your swords and follow me!
Titania said, "One moment, Puck, before you start. You seem to be a little hasty. You know exactly what you're doing."
Why, of course, Your Majesty, I know what I'm doing. Mushrooms made me sick, didn't they? Well, we'll cut them down. Come on, let's chop.
was frozen in his tracks, for once again she pointed her magic wand towards him, because she didn't want him doing any more harm. Titania warned him and said, if you cut down all the mushrooms here in Magic Land, what would happen to our fairy ring? Poor Puck. He had never thought of that. And he did love mushrooms, the kinds that were good to eat.
It was a red one that made me sick. Let's cut down all the red ones.
But some of the red ones are the best to eat, Titania said. And it was true. Some of the red ones were the very juiciest. Oh my, they were so good it made Puck hungry just to think of them. We can't tell by their colors what they're like inside, Queen Titania explained. You were just too quick, Puck. You were going to hurt too many good things just to rid ourselves of the bad. The good and bad mushrooms, which grow together, remind us that once Jesus told a parable about a farmer planting wheat. After he plowed the ground, he sowed the seed. Then he waited for it to grow. One night, when he was fast asleep, in came an enemy. He planted some weeds among the wheat when no one was looking, so that bad plants would grow beside the good ones. Days and weeks went by, and the sun and rain fell on the field. The farmer saw that his wheat was growing. But when he looked closely, he saw that there were weeds in his field as well. His servants asked how this could be. The seed he used was good. Where could the weeds have come from? Should they go and pull them out? Did he think they should? But the farmer said it would not do to pull out the weeds, for the wheat and weeds grew too close together. The servants could see that if they pulled up the weeds, they were sure to pull up some good wheat as well. When harvest time came, the farmer explained they would be able to tell the wheat from the weeds. That would be time enough to cut the weeds and send them to be burned. Then they would harvest the wheat and store it in their barns. Jesus taught us this lesson with the story of the wheat. We can't tell who is good or bad just from the way people look on the outside. It's what's in their hearts that makes them like worthwhile wheat or useless weeds. It is not for us to judge them. God is our judge. He'll choose the good and do away with evil in his own time. Story which Jesus told about the wheat and the weeds may be found in the Bible by turning to the 13th chapter of St. Matthew, beginning at the 24th verse.